They came out of Egypt. They went through the Red Sea. They saw all the Egyptians slain without raising a sword or a sling. They didn't do anything. Men, women and children all walked through dry land over the Red Sea. And the Egyptians coming with their chariots, all were drowned. Not one of them left. Wiped out. The whole thing. Wonderful victory. And God said to the people, go into the land. I've given it to you for an inheritance. And you remember they sent spies in? And the spies went in, and 10 of them came back with an evil report. 10 of them said there's giants in the land. 10 of them said we'll be like grasshoppers in their sight. 10 of them said no hope. 2, Joshua and Caleb, said we're well able to go in and the Lord will give it to us. And I tell you, the big thing that people forget, because in your human mind and in your human reason, fear grips you. And the children of Israel, they all moaned and tore their clothes and said, oh, you know, and they ended up going round in the wilderness, and not one of those that defied God entered in. The whole generation was wiped out. They never received what they could have had. And when Moses was dead, 2 spies went in, and they ended up going to a certain house on a wall. And you hear the testimony. If only they'd known this, the testimony. Look at it in Joshua chapter 2. You remember they went in, and the woman took the 2 men, verse 4, and hid them. And on verse 8, and before they were laid down, she came up unto them upon the roof, and she said unto the men, that's the 2 spies, I know that the Lord hath given you the land, and that your terror is fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land faint because of you. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea for you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did unto the kings of the Amorites that were on the other side of Jordan, Sihon and Og, whom you utterly destroyed. And as soon as we had heard these things, our hearts did melt, neither did there remain any more courage in any man because of you. For the Lord your God, he is God in heaven above and in earth beneath. Hey, what a testimony from an unbeliever. Hello? All the children of Israel who had watched all the miracles would not believe God. And yet here's a woman who's a harlot, and she tells them what really happened 40 years ago. For 40 years, they languished in the wilderness until a whole generation had died out. And the reason they languished is because they did not believe God. And yet, their enemies were absolutely petrified. There was no heart in them to stand against the children of Israel. They realized that the children of Israel's God was the true God, and they were finished. and they realized that God had given them the land. What a testimony. What a testimony. You know, there is nothing worse for the unbeliever than to see the people of God. Their hearts fail them for fear. And you know, if you could only see, the devil is terrified of you. The demons are petrified. And the world is terrified. Now you say, well, it doesn't appear that way. No. You see, Jericho had high walls, they had chariots, they had all kinds of things. It seemed they were so powerful, and yet they were so weak. Their hearts had already failed them. They'd already given over themselves to defeat. They expected good success for the children of Israel. They expected everything to work well for them. In fact, they said, there's no way we can overcome them. And yet the children of Israel sat on the other side of Jordan, full of fear because of 10 stupid men. And then you get the mind of Christ. The mind of Christ, look, hey, the devil's in trouble. Hey, the world's got a problem. We're their problem. We're more than conquerors through Christ. My Bible says, resist the devil and he'll flee. Why does he run? He's terrified. He knows he's already defeated. He knows there's nothing he can do against you. He knows all his machinations are useless. And the moment you know what God has done is the moment all his power is vanquished.